Is the sumo deadlift cheating? It's been a very controversial topic in powerlifting and amongst other strength enthusiasts. And they're wondering, is sumo deadlift cheating? And if you're not familiar with the topic, essentially the deadlift, it's pulling a motionless bar to lock out, standing tall. Sumo deadlifting is when your feet are wider. And some people believe that stance is cheating. It's unfair. It's a short range of motion. Why is that allowed in sports? So today, through my expert opinion on the topic, we're going to talk about, is sumo deadlifting cheating? Where did it come from? Where did the deadlift originate? What is the purpose of a deadlift? And by the end of the video, I'll let you know my own take about if sumo deadlifting is cheating. And I'll actually give you guys some tips on how to increase not only your sumo deadlift, but your conventional deadlift as well. Like I mentioned, a lot of people are curious on how this form of a deadlift is allowed in competition, which essentially gets us back to square one. Is sumo deadlifting cheating? So let's talk about the deadlift. The deadlift is a compound movement. It's a pull, and the bar is loaded on the floor. It's elevated about 13 inches, and you need to lift it from the floor to a standing position at lockout. And lockout means you're tall, your shoulders, your hips, your knee joint, your ankles is all in line, and you're in the best posture possible for it to count as a rep. It's a single motion exercise. It's a very tough exercise to perform. But as we have evolved in the strength sport of powerlifting, there have been some changes in like techniques and things like that, which eventually got us to the point where the sumo deadlift came about. So historically, the deadlift started off with more of a conventional stance, meaning the feet were about hip width apart. But like I said, with time, powerlifting, it's all about advancing your leverages. What's the best way for you to lift the bar from point A to point B? And eventually got to the point where a lot of lifters would bring their feet out in order to lift in a sumo position. Now there's other styles of sumo as well as conventional, and we can talk about these all day long. But the biggest gripe about the sumo is you get shorter, the range of motion changes, and it seems like you're cheating. But why would someone truly want a sumo deadlift? Because here's the thing. I started off as a sumo deadlifter, and I actually did worse in sumo than conventional, and I wasn't advancing my leverages properly. So what does the word leverages mean? Our body is made of different levers and fulcrums. So the levers are the bones and the fulcrum's the joint. And when you think about these levers of the body, I want you to think about one lever being from like your hip up to your shoulders. So like your spine. Some people have longer spines and some people have shorter spines. Some people have shorter femurs. Some have longer femurs. So I'm thinking you're starting to understand that some of the levers of our bodies are a little different. So there are some different people with different levers that might do better with the sumo or a conventional. Me, for example, my femurs are a bit shorter and my torso isn't tremendously long. So whenever I go down in the conventional stance, when I lean over slightly, like my posture, when I lean over and I pull the bar, I'm actually at a higher posture versus when I sumo because my arms are short. If I have to sumo and go down more, my posture starts to decrease. Whether you have longer arms, shorter arms, a longer torso or shorter femur, all those little distances change your movement and makes it harder or easier. So if I was someone who had really long femurs and a short torso, what that might cause is for me to be in a position where I'm a little crouched over in like a conventional stance. But if I open my feet up and let my femurs move outward instead of forcing my hips backwards, now I have a better posture and a better leverage against the bar based on the levers I have of my body. We can train our muscles to be bigger and stronger, but we can't train our levers to be shorter or longer. So there are some people with longer legs who might like the sumo because it helps promote better posture. So it's almost as if these people aren't really cheating in a way. They're just trying to make sure they have a safe, better posture. So they're not only more successful, but they're also safer with their lifting. And for people who do conventional stance, they might have normal or shorter length torsos like a spine, and their femurs might be a little bit normal, not as long. So it makes more sense for them to be in a conventional stance. So sumo, conventional, it's really based on like your body type and how long your body is in certain ways. And it can also be too about your goals. If you want a conventional deadlift, maybe you have a goal of having a bigger back, or maybe you're in a traditional sport like football, basketball, soccer, where you're in a standing position and you want to mimic that standing position. You might want a sumo deadlift if you want to work more on maybe your hips, your abductors. Maybe you want to just deviate from conventional and just try to recruit your muscles a little bit differently in an off season. There are, like I said, a bunch of different ways and reasons why you would choose one or the other. But when we come back to the beginning of the conversation about, is sumo deadlifting cheating? No, it's not cheating. When you sumo deadlift, it actually takes a lot more technique than a conventional, because in a conventional stance, think about from a sideways position. If you're looking at me sideways, my hips are backwards and forwards. I'm covering a lot more ground than if I was in a wider position. If I'm in a wider position, I might not have a lot of balance. I might need to challenge my anatomy more often to learn how to be in a balanced position and to deadlift from that position. So even if you think it's cheating, having to sumo deadlift, there's a little bit more balance and coordination that needs to exist. That's where some people start to think, should I deadlift 2 times a week, 3 times a week? Me as a coach, I work with sumo deadlifters. We might train sumo deadlifts 2 times, maybe 3 times. I hate to admit it. I'm not a fan of that, but there are some instances where that is the case versus conventional lifters where I might say, hey, we might heavy conventional once a week or maybe once every other week, because it's not as taxing in a skill-based position. In the end, I do believe that when we talk about sumo conventional, there's a lot of reasons behind it. And if you want to think it's cheating, you should try doing sumo deadlifting. Maybe you'll be better at it, or maybe it needs more skill, like you need more practice on it. But hopefully you've taken some of the information I've given you to understand a little bit more on the debate and to understand if it's cheating or not. But I also want to challenge you guys into growing your lifts if you are a sumo or conventional lifter. So a little pro tip, if you're a sumo lifter, you should do more floating reps, meaning you never touch the floor. Because when you don't do that, you learn how to squat and wedge a lot better, and you get more time under tension, and you grow those muscles a little bit more than you would if you're resting every rep. It also helps promote better posture too. If you're a conventional lifter, I would give you a pro tip of using the trap bar more, because that's a great lift to learn more about leg drive, to maybe fatigue your legs a little bit more than your back, and to give yourself a break during the off season as well. So again, my name is Joseph Lucero. I'm a Powerlifting Technique. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, learned a lot. And if you want, click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below for more information about us. Thank you.